Hello, viewers. Thank you for tuning in. Here I am with some nice Palo Santo. You can tell that I burn this shit like crazy. It's my jam. But what I am doing today, I am sharing with you another video as a part of my series for manifestation and quantum principles. So the first video I recorded was just an overview of what I have been learning. I've been listening to this audiobook called Reality Transurfing. It's by this Russian physicist, Vadim, I believe is his name, but I'll put the link in in the video in the description below this video. Sorry guys, I like choked on something. Okay. So yeah, there's that. And so today I want to talk about manifestation and intention settings, but I want to talk about the soul and the mind and how that plays a role, because I really feel that it's good to understand what's happening behind the scenes, how it all works. Like if you can explain it with some type of like science, you don't have to obviously, but me, I have the science background too. So it's like, if I can literally like get my science and my spirituality, if I can explain, like if science can explain spirituality and vice versa, like I'm done. Just fucking shoot me, like kill me. Like I'm like, that's where I'm at. Like that is a part of my purpose, is like really bridging this gap. So I think it's really important that the first video I talk about these principles, I want to talk about, how the quantum physics really describes what's happening, when it comes to setting these intentions, because I get it. Like I know that it works. And I wasn't really looking for this audiobook, but as we will talk about, you have these signs and like your path will guide you and like your guides will guide you. And so I happened to just come across, within a video I was watching, he mentioned this book and I was like, wait, a physicist? Yes. And we're talking about manifestation. Yes, I need to know that. So I had been listening to this audiobook for about, like, I would say 2 weeks or so. It's about 5.5 hours long. So if you have the endurance to really sit with this dense material, I would definitely recommend it. And you can break it up and listen to it an hour every day, like it's a podcast or whatever you feel. So, all right, let's get into this. So I have some slides for you guys as well. So here we have the 4 significant steps of manifestation. And so you can just break these down super easily, like into these 4 groups. And I'll do a video on each of these more specifically, just so you can we can really like delve into and really understand these steps, because they can be they can get very descriptive. So the first step is going to be that desire and setting the intention. So really understanding how the difference between a want and a desire, because I want to be able to travel the world, and I want to go to a dance class tonight, and I want to have sexy time. It's like I have all these wants. Obviously we always do, but then it's like, how do we make that, how do we take that want and bring it into the physical? And this is this whole step process here, taking that desire and that first signal of wanting to manifest that and bring that to life is going to be the intention. So I forgot, I left my heater on. Hopefully that wasn't super loud. Okay, nice. And so, yeah, you have that desire, that intention setting. So then the next step is action. This is super important. This is one that definitely caught me up, because, I'm just like, oh, I get it. Like I put my intention out there and it's just going to come to me. I have my Mars is in Pisces in the 4th house. So it's like Cancer and Pisces, Mars, like action. It's just like, I'm just going to go with the flow and just hang out here in the water. So yeah, action is a big thing. Like you have to take action. Since I've been working with this, that was the first thing that stood out to me before I even came across this book. It was like another video that I was watching that I can share with you guys, but I was just like, oh wow, like that makes sense. Well, I have to do something. Like, bitch, you have to fucking work, right? And so I took that action, I took that advice and really started to put in a little bit more work. Like, it's like you're meeting it halfway. Like the universe is like, all right, I got you. Like, I'll start, working some things and manipulating some things as you also do work. This is the whole thing about the co-create. You do the action. But I'll get back into this at the end of this once we wrap with this lecture or whatever video. And so the next one's going to be signs and synchronicities, the next step. And so this is really, really important. This one came through to me like with the significance over the summer. I was recording a podcast episode on witchcraftsy. If you haven't heard of it, go check it out. It's freaking awesome. Like all the witchy spiritual things, especially it's very local to Denver community. So if you live in Denver, Colorado, like, oh my God, check it out for sure. Everyone check it out. But I facilitate a women's circle, Luna Goddess Circle, and this is our primary thing, working with manifestation and intentions. So we were talking about this on the podcast, and I was telling Amy Lynn, the host, we were talking about like our different steps in manifestation and setting intentions and all these things. And she was like, my practice is to ask for signs and guidance to let me know that I am on the right track. And I was like, yes. I was like, why didn't I think about that? Like, obviously I was aware, I've been seeing numbers and things like that, but like, everything, when you make it intentional, that just gives it just like grounds it, it just like pulls it all together, and it makes it a lot more grounded and very like, that makes sense. It's going to create that manifestation process, make it tangible. So by asking to see these signs and synchronicities, this will help, you continue on the right path to manifestation over whatever it is that you're seeking. So then you also have gratitude, right? Gratitude is super, super important. Gratitude will attract the things to you. It's a really high frequency. So yes. And then you repeat these cycles. So then you can repeat this cycle, with the same intention, maybe like, oomping it up a little bit. I just said oomping, that's singing really weird. But yeah, just putting a little bit more, you can put a little bit more energy into the previous desire. You can come up with a new desire, but this is a step, and this is the mechanism for really the basic way of manifestation. And so with that in mind, like, how does this all work? Like I said, like, it's good to know what's happening behind the scenes. Everything is energy, and energy has variation in frequency. Some are more dense than the others. So you have the super dense energy, low frequency. It's going to be, like objects like this coffee cup or like my phone, like a rock. That's really dense. So the frequency is going to be pretty low. Light, sound, that's when you have the higher frequencies. So, as we know, getting into the law of conservation of energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just changes form, right? And so when you think about that, you're just like, okay, that makes sense. So if energy can be light and sound, energy can also be a thought, right? So having our thoughts do create reality, because it's like we have a thought, and as you have that thought, you create this pathway, this life track. And so by making this decision or this decision, it's like, okay, yes, no, A, B, this, that. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to choose this one. So this path is usually, it's probably been already realized, or at least like initiated. So then this path over here, you still have this path where it's like, okay, I didn't go down that, like I didn't take that job. This is I took the job. This is I didn't take the job. So taking the job, you go down this path, you meet these people, at some point there is a chance that you can converge with the other path. And so, or you can even make a choice. You're like, oh, you know what? Like I shouldn't have taken this job. Like I'm going to quit this job, and then boom. Then you might, end up on this other life track, or some variation of that one life track, because then you're going to create another one based on that. So you kind of see how that goes, right? So where does this energy even exist? So it's not just on planet Earth, but it exists in other dimensions. Obviously, energy is everywhere, and like there's more than just like what meets the eye. There's the subtle energies, there's other dimensions, other, parallel universes from, my perspective. And, with any of these things, like please take what resonates from you and then leave the rest, and then also do your work. Because I'm not saying that I'm 100% right. This is just the things that resonated with me that I want to share with you guys. And so, yeah, there you have it. And so specifically what we're talking about, or the energy that we're talking about, exists in the information field. So the information field is also referred to as the energy matrix. And when you think of like a field, an energy field, it's really, the way to even conceptualize it is that honestly, it's just like a mathematical configuration, like describing a point in space-time. So, and it's like it's not to even think about going there to try to conceptualize that, it just doesn't, like, you can't do it. It doesn't work, right? And so the energy matrix is a model of what must happen and how it must happen. So this information field really is like this cloud, like this the point in space time where, you know, realities have been realized. They've been decided. This is where your destinies exist. And they're definitely, you know, this information field is manipulated by, you know, your, like, by cause and effect, pretty much, you know. So it's like, oh, I took this thing, and so then this happened. Or, you know, I made this choice, I thought about this thing, and then now we're here, right? And so it's like, oh, we have Trump in office instead of Hillary Clinton. That's like, this cause and effect creates more, you know, more of these like flows of variation, which we'll get into in another video, right? So the information field, I said, yes, is caused by it's influenced by cause and effect, and it's the birth to the flow of spatial variations. Sorry if my speaking is really weird right now. I'm also reading my notes while I'm trying to flow, because I just want to make sure I get everything and don't go off on a tangent, because as you know, with this kind of thing in astrology, like, you can just go deeper and deeper and deeper, right? So our thoughts tune into and align with the frequency of specific spatial variations. So I'm going to get into what all of these means, but essentially what some of these terms mean, but essentially a spatial variation is a life track. So it's like, what life track do I want to be on? And so this is when it comes to like the power of the mind and the secret and things of that. It's like, you know, I want to align with this life track where I am in full abundance. Okay, so you make that intention. What actions are you going to do to get there? You know, ask for signs to make sure you stay on that life track, or you know, and then, or you have this other life track that obviously you don't want to be on, but a life track of being poor. So it's, you know, all of these life tracks, these spatial variations have been realized, and this is when destiny comes into play. But it hasn't, you know, you have a choice of what life track you want to be on. So this is like kind of like a balance of both, you know, the you know, free will and divine will. So this is how you can have both. And so you just pick which life track that you want to be on, and you know, develop practices to align with the frequency of that specific life track. And material manifestation is moving through the space of variation. So, you know, working with the process of manifestation, you are moving through the space of variations. Like, you're moving through the flow of variations, you know, in a way where it's like you're flowing with it, basically. And so by understanding the mechanics of this information field, and learning how to intentionally interact with it, we can manifest our desires and just flow and live our fucking purpose. Because, you know, this has been really important to me since I quit my main job. I decided, you know, I'm like, okay, I started, obviously Reading The Secret was one of the ones I started with, because I mean, I'm very skeptical, even though obviously I believe in this stuff and I'm a witch and I'm an astrologer. I'm a very emotional feeling based person. So it's like, I got to feel it for myself. Like, I'm not going to just do it because everyone's doing it, or because you said I need to do it because XYZ. Like, I'll take that into account, but I need to find out for myself. And so this practice has been great in working with The Secret, or just learning about how to work with the law of attraction has been awesome, because I can, like, I need this in order to live live my purpose. Because as an astrologer and a channel, you know, the way the world is, our culture, they're not, like, that's not a real job, you know, and it's hard. Like, it's even hard for people that have like good paying jobs to really stay afloat. So I'm like, I need to figure out how to get what I want, and I need to do it now. So that's really important to me. I want to go over some key terms here of what might come up, because, you know, just to have some clarity for you guys in case you want to take notes. So subconscious is the soul. Consciousness is the mind. Life tracks are focused reality. So which focused reality do you want to be in? The spatial variations are the life tracks, are the parallel realities. So it's just like another word for, you know, like a variation of space and time, or, you know, a destiny or whatever. So then you have the information field, which is the energy matrix. So that is a model of what must happen and how it must happen. And so you have, these different variations within the informational field, but this is like specifically the energy field that we're focused on in this video. And so you also have unrealized sectors of the information field, which is consists of data that has been undeveloped in symbolic interpretation. And we'll get into this more when we talk about the soul and the mind and bridging the gap between those two, because the soul can, it can understand or try to understand the unrealized sector, or it can even see before it's even realized. And then the mind can't. The mind just like, I don't know, I'm whatever, like fuck off, right? So then you have pendulums, which we'll also talk about, but the pendulums are energy structures created by those who are united by common goal and have the same thought focusing on one direction. The thought energies of their parameters become identical, merging into one flow, always fighting for control. They're always fighting for control. This is what I think about the powers that be. Like, it can even be, the Illuminati, if you're into that stuff. Like, it's like, these structures, these non-serving systems. And, honestly, they can be systems that serve at some point, but the idea of the pendulum is that it's either one extreme or the other. And like usually the pendulum is tipped in, when you think about the government or the Illuminati or whatever you want to think about, the pendulum is tipped in favor of, the Illuminati or like the government, and and so the rest is out of balance. So it's really like restoring balance. Like, how do you restore balance within yourself and the world around you? Also, the fact of the energy structures being created, this whole concept of really like this group coming together is very powerful. This kind of help describes like how your collective thought can really have a strong influence on manifestation and just like an energy influence. So that's why it's really good to like, if you have like a safe group to do, certain rituals and things of that nature with, because the more people, the more, energy is put into it, especially if the intentions are pure and from like a really, really good high frequency place. So that is the key terms that you might hear me say at some point. And so now let's talk about bridging the soul and the mind, because this is, for me, this is even like spirituality and science, bridging the two, because, this is when things start to break down, because the soul feels and knows, and the mind, I don't want to say it doesn't, but the mind, it wants to categorize things. It wants to conceptualize information. So the mind works off of logic, which, it's good to have both. But when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to, people wanting to empower themselves or like work with subtle energies, like you have to step outside of the mind. You have to silence the mind, because it is very limiting. Like it'll create these structures to move you away from like, it's like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Like, I feel a presence here, but ghosts don't exist. So there's no ghost here. Wow. It's like, but your body, like your hair is standing up on the back of your neck. Like you're freaked out, but oh, there's no ghosts. It's no big deal. Ghosts don't exist. So it's like when that mind makes this, your mind tries to go in the opposite way of what the soul's feeling. And so the soul has direct access to the information field, and the information comes through as like premonition, intuition, discoveries, signs, prophecy. It comes through as a feeling, like this knowingness. And, the soul is able to receive this information without distortion, because as it comes through, as information from the information field comes through the mind, that's when you have that filter. That's when you start to put it in these different boxes. And that's when it can become distorted. And so the soul has the capability to even process unrealized sectors. So things that haven't happened yet, that are like in the process of happening. And this is where the prophecy comes in, the visions. Like your soul will be like, I don't know about this. And that's when you it'll connect with you or send you signals through intuition, through your gut feeling, through just like, there's the two aspects of the soul, like the way they function. And it's, the way the soul communicates is very subtle. So it communicates through feeling and knowingness. And so there's an inner peace, which is feeling really good. And then there's a discomfort, which is feeling bad. It's that simple. Yes, no, this, that, good, bad, right? Fucking duality, following me everywhere. You guys know that. Try to bring everything together to oneness, because I'm like, oh, why? Like, we don't have to be separate. So the mind doesn't want to listen to the soul. The mind receives this information and it wants to put it in these categories. It wants to label it. It wants to conceptualize it. So when the mind comes across an unrealized sector, like say it comes through the soul presents it as like, hey, here's this thing that feels really awesome. Like there's this person that you don't even know that lives across the country that might be like, basically is your partner for life. You know, your mind is like, what? Like, no, your mind tries to shut it down, but your soul is like, gives you that feeling where it's like, this feels really right. And it feels, you know, like, you know, and so the mind can't really put that anywhere, or it will put it in a category as like, that's crazy. Right. And so it's, you know, it will find that incomprehensible. Any information that comes from an unrealized sector, it's going to find it incomprehensible because it's like, I don't understand that. I can't conceptualize it. I can't put it in this box. And when you actually are able to find a label or a concept that you can put that into, then that's when a discovery is made. Then that's when you have this invention, and it's just like, oh my God, like this is crazy. Like this is amazing. Like I haven't ever thought about this, and look at this new thing. And so how do we bridge this gap between the mind and the soul? Because the soul just like, it just feels and knows, and it just flows. And it has the direct access. So we have to build our mind needs to build this relationship with the soul in order to balance and to be able to flow. And so one way is obviously the biggest thing that you hear in like new age movements and yoga and like things like that and meditating is to silence the mind. That's so, so, so important. Because it's like we have all these things we have to do. Like even now as I'm recording this video, I'm like, okay, I have to fix my website. I have to like check my emails. I have to like, you know, I have to go run some errands, and it's already like dark outside because, you know, we're in that time of year. And so the power of the mind must be lessened, allowing the soul, in order to allow the soul to have a breakthrough in consciousness, you know. So the power, or the mind just needs to shut the hell up for a little bit, right? And once you sit in that silence, and that's been, you know, this all clicked for me because I have since the beginning of the year have been doing what I call source tone meditations, where literally I lay on the ground. I have a couple songs, a couple tracks that are just like singing bowls and bells, like really high frequency music. Like I call it source tone music. And I just lay there, and the tracks are about 30 minutes long, lay on the floor with a blanket, very comfortable, maybe burn some incense, listen to this, and like, I'm gone. I've astral traveled. I've met guides. I've, you know, channeled information. Like I've gotten so much information from just like silencing that mind. And it takes a minute, you know, to like really let the thoughts come through and then let them pass. And then that's when you can like really just be, and then you just feel lovely, right? So the goal in all of this when it comes to manifestation is to tune the soul, tune the soul into the desired sector, right? The desired sector that you want to align with, the life track that you want to align with. Because, you know, if you have the soul aligned with that path, then you will begin to, you know, you can get these signals obviously and flow within that right path for you. And the soul, according to this book, never makes mistakes. So I'm just saying, the soul is very subtle, like I was saying, and it communicates through feeling and knowingness. So paying attention to your body, paying attention to what makes you feel good, pay attention to what makes you feel discomfort. And I love one of the quotes I'm going to say from the book, but he said that the soul is the rustling of the trees. It is the voice without words, thoughtfulness without thoughts, sound without volume, just beautiful essence. Like it just feels really good. And it makes me want to light some Palo Santo because really feeling really vibey. So yeah, so the goal is to, like align your soul with where you want to go, who you want to be. So you want to build a strong connection with your emotional body. So while doing this, you want to also release your mind from the influence of pendulums. And so what I mean by the influence of pendulums is, you know, these non-serving systems, suppressed emotions, conditioning. The emotions and the conditioning come from these systems, come from these pendulums that are not tipped in our favor or not swinging in our favor, right? And so we want to release ourselves. And this is why it's really important when you are doing manifestation practices that you also have a practice of release, because it takes, in order to gain, you know, that's, you know, one of the laws of alchemy is you have to, you know, release something, you have to sacrifice something of an equal exchange, of equal importance in order to gain that, which I've been feeling really hard since I've been doing this stuff. But I have also been doing practices on releasing a lot. Like I pretty much release something, like even I make a point to release energy or whatever. Even if it's something I'm not aware of, I do it like almost daily. And so that's really important. And so in order to free yourself also from, or just some ways to free yourself from pendulums, you have to abandon inner and outer importance. So if you want to simplify what it is you're releasing, it's going to be it's going to be the outer importance. So these are goals that seem difficult to reach. And this is when lethargy comes into play, or why bother is when you feel downtrodden, and it's just like you can feel like the United States, the state of our culture, where it's just like, we have all these bills and it's really expensive to live. And, some of us have families and, it's like we have to just keep moving through the motions. And then this will lead you from not, going for what you really want or doing what you really want in life. And so then you also have this inner importance that needs to be released, which are the goals that would seem easier to reach if you just had like that one thing, if you just had the perfect qualifications. So it's like that idea of not being good enough. And this makes me think of Virgo, where it's just like, it's not quite ready yet, or I'm not good enough. Like, I'm never going to be good enough to do this. I'm never going to be a singer, So that is something that you need to be aware of, because then this creates excess potential, which I'll talk about in another video, which is really important. That's one of the things that stood out to me as well. There's almost like this Virgo Pisces axis with manifestation. It's really interesting. So just to begin to wrap this up, I'm going to go over the manifestation, again, the steps of manifestation here. And so we have intention setting. So you want to identify your strong desires and their intentions. So this is what I was saying before, when it's like learning, taking that want, learning what's important. Like, what do you really, really want? Like, you want all these things, but what do you have to have? What's that burning, what gives you that burning desire within? So identifying those strong desires and their intentions, and then thinking about what is the overall goal you're headed towards? Like, what do you actually, like, what's the long-term goal? Just to have some clear insight so you can create that reality, right? So you think about your overall goal, and then the biggest thing too, which has helped me, is like, what are the small goals to get to the larger goal? So just to use myself as an example, my overall goal is to, obviously, which I do have, my own thriving astrological counseling practice. I want to also do see how I correct myself. I am doing one-on-one sessions with people in my community to help them be able to manifest and live their best life. My goal is to empower people, right? And I want to have a family and have a nice home and things of that nature, and travel. So those are my long-term goals. So what are my smaller goals in order to get there? So one of the things that my smaller goals is like doing the work, the work that I have to do, making that action, which would be, doing these videos, also getting out in the community. And this is more so, I feel like this is more so, my action. So I guess what I would say my smaller goals is just like aligning with my tribe, aligning with my audience, connecting with my community, finding that community where I can thrive. Those are my smaller goals. So when it comes to action, the way I can do that, my intentional moves would be to do these videos, engage with people in my community, do readings at metaphysical stores, working at metaphysical stores, just talking to people online through social media, And so action, yes. What intentional moves can you make to bring you closer to accomplishing that small goal? Signs. I love this one. And this one has been, ever since I made the intention to work with this and pay attention, like that awareness, I've been seeing so much. And it's not just numbers. It's just like, even, certain people link up with certain people that I've been best friends with for, a long time. And then I meet their friend just like in a weird way. And it's like a really good connection. So those signs, those synchronicities in those ways, just like, wow, okay, I am along my right path, because this person is like my partner, right? So communicating with your guides, your higher self, the universe, asking them to send you signs and synchronicities in the form of guidance, right? So that's what I meant when I was just talking about, my experience is like I'm always like, hey guys, so another example for me, I say to my guides, like ever since I quit my job earlier this year, I made, and ever so often I feel like I have to get like a part-time job, and I'm like, fine, I guess I'll do it, right? Just something random. And so I'm always like, okay, when I get a job, right, when I interview for a job, usually I get it. So I say to myself and my guides, I'm like, if I'm meant to take this job, if I'm meant to work, make some extra money, then I give me the job. Like if they call me, I'm going to take it. This happened recently. So I'm like, all right, if they call me about this job, I'm going to take it. But if I need to focus on what my work, if I'm doing the right things, if I'm on my path and like it's realized and it's great, right? Then don't have them call me. Like don't have them offer me the job. And it's been like 9 days and I haven't heard anything. So I'm just like, and it is, this is when the mind kicks in where it's like, but you probably should have another job, but then it's like, also I live through trust and flow and I know my boundaries and I'm just like, okay, like I can see how this works. Right. And so that's a big thing, asking for those signs and definitely being very clear about what you're asking for as far as signs, like more so asking for a yes or no in a yes or no way. Define what your signs will communicate. Keeping it simple. Yes or no, this or that, right? And so within each of these steps, you want to pay attention to how this makes you feel. So I always ask myself, like, how do I feel about this? Like every day, I'm like, I have to meet with this person and then I need to record a video. I have to go to the store. Okay, how do I feel about any of this? Like what's important? Like I'm in this state where I don't want to rush things. I don't want to force it. So I'm like, does really doing like recording a video, do I actually have time for that or am I forcing it? Right? So it's like, and then I'm just like, I'll feel a certain way. Like I'll pay attention if I feel really anxious because I'm trying to fit something in, then it's like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't do this today. So just paying attention to how you feel and asking yourself, like, how do I feel about this? Letting your emotions guide you. And like I said, according to this book, the soul doesn't make mistakes. So as long as you can make that great connection with your soul, I guess you're probably in the clear. And so then the last one is gratitude, which is like the last but the best. So when you are in this state of being, when you're embodying gratitude, you are existing at like one of the highest frequencies we can be as a human, I guess. Like I'm being dramatic, but your desires for the highest and best will begin to resonate with you and then they will manifest at a very accelerated rate. So gratitude was one of the ones I started with first. Like I started with the gratitude journal. Every day I wake up and I think about what I'm grateful for. I think about the people in my life and just like where I am. Even though I have been in really rough spots this year, I definitely have been trying to embody that gratitude, or I have been embodying the gratitude principle as much as I can. And I've seen the way hitting all of these steps, I've seen how I've been able to manifest things at an accelerated rate, especially with that action. The action, the signs, the gratitude, all of these things are super important. So another just reminder is to always flow with your emotions. It's important to develop practices that allow you to silence your mind and to tune into the rustling of the trees. Yeah, that makes me really happy when I hear that. I can just like hear, I love the sound of trees and the wind and things of that nature. So also one thing to mention, if a message seems ambiguous, then you want to default to the mind or just simplify your inquiry, right? So just, if you don't really understand something, that's when the mind can help you, as long as you don't get in the fear-based situation, or simplify your answer, because simple is good. And like I said, you want to always have yes or no, this or that, So yeah, I think that is going to really wrap up everything I wanted to talk about. So I am going to upload some more videos to this series on, you know, the intention setting, the desire, the action, the signs, the gratitude, especially the signs. I've learned a lot from this book about signs, which like it resonates so much. And I'm going to try to go in order, but I really want to start with signs. So, we'll see how this goes. I might just have to flow because I'm feeling the signs, and so that's probably what's going to come next. But if you guys would like to book a reading with me, definitely do that. I am on Instagram. I'm super active on Instagram, Urania_universe. Obviously, subscribe to this YouTube channel since you're watching this video. You can check out my website and book a reading there, uraniauniverse.com. You can send me a message through the website. Yeah, one thing I want to mention is that, like, this is, for me, I love this because it helps bring together astrology in the sense of science and spirituality, because the way I look at astrology is through the soul. And so it's like your soul is here to evolve and to learn certain lessons. Your soul is what's within this body. This body is a vehicle, the body is a tool. And so by understanding and connecting and listening to your soul, like your soul speaking to you in these different ways through intuitions and visions and things of that nature, dreams, you know, prophecy, by doing that, it will help you move forward into your purpose. And this is all written in your birth chart for the most part, right? So by having a birth chart reading specifically with me, you know, I'll look at how even, you know, there's elements of the moon phase when you were born. Like this will be, I can look at your chart and see what phase you were born in. And I'm like, okay, this is a potent time for manifestation when you're working with moon cycles. For you, this is a good time. This is like the beginning of your moon cycle. And so it just brings everything together. And it's like the astrology part, the language is a science. It's putting it in these categories and these labels and conceptualizing it. And then the soul is just like, it speaks through the whole chart. This is how I look at it. So please get a reading with me if this sounds great to you. And definitely comment below. And I will see you guys in the next video. I love you. Bye.